Hello, Detective Banks. When was the last time you saw your father?
Spiral from the Book of Saw is the latest film in the Saw franchise, and this film stars Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson as we follow Rock's character, who's a detective on the police force, as he tries to piece together jigsaw copycat murders who are targeting cops, and trying to figure out how this involves him, the police force, his dad, and all these traps and things and stuff happens in this movie. And I was thoroughly surprised by how much I liked it and how good it was. What the fuck? So yeah, me and the Saw franchise. I am not a fan of these movies. The first one I think is good. It has a lot of problems, but overall it was the best in the series. Then 2 through 7 happened. I would prefer to forget I ever watched those movies. I regret watching those movies. I lost many brain cells seeing those movies. Jigsaw, I think, was the second best in the series. I think it's fine. It's average. It's nothing amazing. Then this movie happened, and it was good. Like, way better than I thought it was going to be, which I was thoroughly surprised by. So this movie was kind of the brainchild of Chris Rock, of all people. Like, he's a fan of the series, and he wanted to do his own movie. And so he kind of got a story credit on the movie. He stars in it. He's an executive producer. He had a lot of creative say in how this movie went. And I think the way that he wanted this to go, I think that it was the best way that you could take this franchise into, like, new directions to actually make it feel fresh again. Which, thank God, because I can't take any more of these movies if they were just going to be the same thing as all the other ones. Just, whew. So first off, Chris Rock, one of his first big dramatic roles. There was the most recent season of Fargo. I haven't seen that yet. He had some more dramedy roles, but this is his first, like, legit, like, serious movie. And he did a really good job. His character, I thought, was interesting. The humor that he brought to it wasn't, like, overabundant, but it was just enough to make him, like, really interesting and actually make me care about him. Because in this series, I've never cared once about any of the characters. But here, I actually care about someone in this franchise, which, thank God. Because, like, if it kept going the way it was with me not caring about anyone, what would be the point? Like, but yeah, he was actually interesting, and Chris Rock gave a good performance, which, like, 2 thumbs up, good job. So this time around, we see a Jigsaw copycat, which we did see back in, I guess, technically all the other movies, but more in Jigsaw. But in that one, it just kind of felt like it didn't really work. Here, there's actually, like, reasoning behind it, and, like, not just, like, targeting one person, but just, like, affecting so many people. Here, there actually makes sense why they are targeting a group of people, specifically the cops. And so I thought that was a really interesting angle to go on. And as the story unfolds and we begin to learn more, it becomes more interesting. It's not about the traps this time around. It's actually fully about the mystery surrounding why these killings are happening. The traps are there and they work. They're not, like, overly as graphic as all the other movies were, but I think in doing so, they're not as memorable. But granted, I don't want to really remember the horrificness of these traps, so I am thankful that they're not as graphically horrible. They're still intense, and they still can be gross, but nowhere near as bad as the previous movies. But I will say they probably won't be in my memory like the other ones are. I will say, though, because it's more about the mystery of it, of, like, who's doing it, if you've seen a good amount of movies, and if you pay attention to how this movie reveals certain things, it's not going to be difficult to figure out who it was. It tries to give you a red herring here and there, but they don't work. And if you can piece together who it is, and then at the end you find out who it is, it's not going to at all surprise you, and then that kind of makes the motivations a bit weaker. The motivations are there, but I feel like that we need to see more of it, more of this character. But because you have to have the twist ending in a Saw franchise, when you have the twist ending, it weakens the character because it's just like, oh, it's you, how could it be? And then it's like you figure it out, and then that kind of lessens the character that we've seen already. And so by the end, you figure out who it is, and, like, the motivation works, but it kind of lessens the movie, and doesn't make it as strong as it could be. Now, this film does have some narrative problems, more with kind of how other characters are and the way that they interact, like kind of how Rock interacts with other cops and how they interact back with him. It feels like with those kinds of things and just kind of how certain things are set up, it was more to set up sequels and how those interactions would later, like, affect those than it does here. And I genuinely don't like when movies do that, when they sequel bait more than they do focus on the actual story of the movie. Yeah, that kind of disappoints me in that factor. There are some other times where it seems like that, motivation-wise, it seems like that they should also be going after Rock as well, but they don't. Which is weird, because the movie, like, sets up certain things, like, with the characters and, like, how they see and interact with one another. And then by the end, it doesn't really affect that in any way. So it's showing us that didn't really matter. So why show it? Or why do it? It's not the biggest thing in the world. It's not really going to detriment the movie a whole lot. But it did make me go, it's like, okay, but if you're doing this, then why not also do this same thing to them? Or why not affect them in the same way? I don't know. The director of this movie directed Saw 2 through 4. And I hate those movies. Well, I don't hate them. I don't think that they're good. Saw 2 is meh. The ending of 2 actually saved the movie for me, but overall, I don't think it was that good. Again, I didn't care about anyone in that movie. 3 and 4, no. Just a hard no with those movies. So when I heard he was directing this, I was very worried that it would just be another Saw 2 through 4, that I would not like it. And it does keep some of, like, the fast, like, editing, that the series is known for when it comes, but they keep that for, like, the scenes of traps. When certain, like, I wouldn't say action moments, but when, like, people are fighting, there is, like, some quick cinematography. It's not really a big detriment or thing. I just thought that I would mention that. But I was actually surprised by how he directed it. He really directed it more in the way of, like, kind of those murder mystery type movies, similar to, like, Seven. Now, of course, this director is no David Fincher, but he took it way more seriously and knew that he needed to focus more on the characters and the mystery of it all rather than the traps, which I was happy with. And, like, he even shot, like, the way that the traps are, like, not overly, like, graphic or not really, like, glorifying, like, look at it, like, how his hand is twisting like this, and, like, look at that, it's right here in your face. Like, it's not like that. Like, he's definitely toned that down, which, thank God, because I think that if it did that, then that also wouldn't have worked with the tone of this film. Because this is not going for just, like, blah. This is actually going for something to keep you interested and invested. Do I want to see if this gets sequels? Do I want him to direct it? I don't know. I don't know who I would want to direct or write the sequel after this. But I do want to see a sequel because I am curious to see where it goes. I do want this series to end at some point, though, because, like, there has to be an end somewhere, guys. Like, anytime, please. I would like something new, not more Saw movies. But if I got more sequels, I'd rather them be like this than be anything like Saw 2 through 7. Just please. Overall, I found Spiral to be, like, pretty damn good. The cast was great. Chris Rock especially. I found the story to be the most interesting of the series. It wasn't overly graphic. And it worked way better than I thought that it should have. Some things don't work as well as they should. And there is a bit more sequel baiting, I guess, if you could see it that way. But overall, the positives outweigh the negatives, and I would definitely recommend this, even if you haven't seen any of the other Saw movies. I think not seeing them could make it work better for you. I don't know. But yeah, if you've never seen any Saw movies, I would say this is your time to dive in and check them out. Well, this one. Don't watch the other ones. Maybe the first one, but don't watch the other ones. And I think this is my favorite Saw movie now. I'm going to give Spiral from the Book of Saw a 7 out of 10. Again, thoroughly surprised by this movie. I'm curious to see where it goes, if, we get sequels, but, crazier things have happened. So that's my review of Spiral. What'd you think? Let me know down in the comments below. Have you seen the movie? Let me know down there as well. Like, share, subscribe, all that cool stuff. And I will see you all next time.